Hi there, it's Kareem from Keeper's Nursery. It is the 20th of February 2024, and today I'm making a video about my apple seedlings. So this is probably the fourth time I've done this, where I have collected seeds from openly pollinated apples. Openly pollinated means I've not painstakingly collected pollen and hand pollinated uh, flowers with pollen that I've selected. Instead, I have let the bees do their business. So on the nursery, we have about sort of 700, I would say, different apple varieties, plus 150 seedlings that are in flower. So it's a big mishmash. Lots of interesting crosses will potentially happen. If you're good at maths, you could actually work out the different possible crosses in the nursery. Anyway, I've not gone for anything too mad. I've picked about 10 different parents, more of the ones that I think are very good, that I have sort of records of the seedling fruits being high quality, or a high percentage of them being high quality. And by that I mean, of about 35 seedlings that I had, which were all Riker seedlings, I would say at least 5 of them were what I rated as a 4 out of 5. One of them I almost gave a 5 to. I'm sort of on the fence about it. Giving a 5 out of 5 is pretty mad. But those are extremely high by my standards. I'm someone who's grown up on a fruit tree nursery. I have tried each season, probably for the last 15 years at least, I've tried 200, 300 different varieties throughout the season. So I've got quite a critical palate when it comes to apples. um, it just goes to show you don't need to plant tens of thousands of seeds to come up with one good apple. It does seem to be quite a sort of strange things that's been said by a lot of apple breeders recently. Well, commercial apple breeders probably have to plant sort of tens of thousands of seeds to come up with one sort of super apple, which has everything that commercial growers, the commercial process requires apples to have, and possibly an adequate sort of flavor to go with that. I'm sort of breeding apples with the idea that they will be for gardens. That's my main business. I run a fruit tree nursery. These will end up in people's gardens. Yes, they may sort of be slightly susceptible to scab. They may be slightly susceptible to becoming biennial, or they are not they don't produce the biggest yields, or the stalks are not quite long enough, or they're too long, or there's too much russeting, or the shape's the wrong shape for all these things that commercial breeders take in consideration. It isn't that if you planted 10,000 pips you'd have one super apple and 9,999 sort of green yucky looking things that are all acidic, and people would just throw them into the mill to produce what the Americans would call like hard cider or sweet cider. No, it actually is very much a sort of bell curve, I believe, and you get some real duff ones. You get quite a lot of pretty decent apples and a few exceptional ones. And it's just, it's a numbers game. Obviously, if you did 10,000, I'd probably end up with hundreds of very nice apples, but I don't need to produce hundreds. So I will show you what's behind me. This is my setup. Let's just have a look. So this is my break room, which I've transformed into, it's pretty self-explanatory little room. I've transformed this into a grow room. So there is a window, but we are going with artificial light. This is an expensive lumatek ATS300 WLED. Don't ask me how much it costs. It costs too much, and I sort of believe that slightly illegal activities are often associated with these lights. I'm just growing apple seeds, so nothing too illegal going on here. I've also got a heat mat down here. Yeah, you don't necessarily need a heat mat and a grow light, it does help. Look how healthy these seedlings are looking. These have been in here from about the 1st of February, I would say. The 1st of February, a lot of them were looking a bit like this little guy. Or actually, they were looking smaller than this guy. If I can find some. Not really. So some of these are at different stages, but they've grown. They've now gone from this sort of very juvenile stage, which is like this, where you can see the two cotyledons and one sort of true leaf coming through. They go from this stage where it's just like the seed head is still, the seed is still, the seed casing is still covering the cotyledons. Now a lot of them have these true leaves. Some of the true leaves you can see are different colors, where possibly the pollen parent is sort of red leafed, presumably sort of red flesh. Some of them have got 3 cotyledons, which is quite funny, or at least a split one. Generally, they are looking quite healthy. They are about sort of 10 centimeters, 4 inches. The roots will be much longer, so I have got a capillary matting. These are sort of waterproof, sort of 1 meter by 1 meter, or 3 foot by 3 foot trays, which are sort of relatively heavy duty. And you just, this is okay, there's a bit of a view of it. This is a sort of recycled capillary matting. You could probably use anything there. That basically will, that's where I water. So I water into the capillary matting. That is then reabsorbed up into the plant pots, which are touching the capillary matting. I probably need to water them soon, because it does get to about, well, it's 19 degrees in here right now. Don't know if you can read that. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's warm. So I grow them in here. This is quite a nice setup. I could probably do with more lights, but they're frightfully expensive. So in here, these seedlings are looking quite healthy and happy. Some of these ones which are a bit smaller, they're just smaller because they came through the stratification process a bit later. I started them later, so they have actually... they're just a bit behind. I will need to repop these pretty soon. The reason we are indoors as opposed to outside, which is quite nice, it's, as I said, the 20th of February. It has been mild. It's been very wet. And by outside, I mean, I wouldn't put them outside right out there, but if I was to grow these in a glass house right now, you can see, sorry, so there's some cherry plum blossom. That's the earliest blossom of the year. There is almond blossom and some nectarine blossom as well about. But if it was to grow outside, the temperature would be lower. Lower temperatures would mean that these seedlings would not be growing as quickly at this stage. If they were not growing as quickly at this stage, you might lose some trees to sort of damping off or rotting, where if a seedling is sort of not growing too well because it's in damp, wet soil, fungal infections will get the better of them. I can show you right here, there are some signs of fungal problems. So down here, some of these have got, you can see there's quite a lot of fungal. This is a seedling that's obviously just died. It's not a big deal. If you were doing this commercially, you would probably bombard all these seedlings. Well, you'd have tens of thousands of seedlings. This is about 600. So scale that up, I don't know, 15 times or whatever it is. Not sure that's quite right, but you would bombard all these with scab, all sorts of fungal infections, and that would kill off quite a few that have no resistance to scab, and then you would end up with, I don't know, half of them, and then you would grow them on. I'm not going to do that because I know, in actual fact, some of the very nicest apples in the world are susceptible to scab and other fungal infections. So what you're effectively losing out could be the best apples. And you can treat for, you can treat for scab if you really wanted to. My priority is making super flavored apples, very pleasant apples. I'm not gonna say something without good texture is necessarily worth keeping, but my attributes are different to what commercial breeders would have. Anyway, my point was, if you grew these outside, you would have, as I said, the cold weather, the fungal problems. You would also not be able to control the temperature and control the light. So what I'm doing here effectively is getting them a head start. Giving them a head start isn't necessary. If you don't have to do this, don't do it. But I do this with the idea that in uh, 6 months' time, in August, I will hopefully, hopefully be, these will be large enough that I can chip bud them onto M9 rootstocks, which will be growing outside in the nursery right out there. So the idea of that is that once they're on M9, they will fruit sooner. If you grow an apple seedling on its own roots, yes, I haven't done, well, I have some in the nursery. I've not tried to grow any on their own roots until flowering and fruiting, which is, you know, beyond the juvenile stage, as they say. The reason for that is because it could take up to, 10 years. I'm still quite young. 10 years isn't going to sort of see me out. I'll still see some fruit on them. But why not speed that up to 5 years? And also on an M9 rootstock, the tree is going to be relatively small. Yes, it's not going to be as strong a tree, but what will effectively happen is once those fruits, so these should fruit in sort of 2028, 2029 time, I'd expect at least half of these to have fruited. Once I'm happy, my top picks, I'll probably eventually only keep, let's say, the 5%, the top 5%, because yeah, I don't want hundreds of new seedlings. I don't know what the point of having, I'm not going to keep everything that's mediocre. I'm just going to keep the best because, you know, there are already so many apple varieties out there and I'm trying to effectively sell them. So why am I going to, I'm only going to be able to sort of honestly sell the very, very, very best. So even if I keep the 5%, what I will do then is propagate those again and again on different rootstocks and then keep them sort of grow them on N26 or some of the Geneva rootstocks like 202. Keep those in the nursery as mother trees. So the M9 phase is just a easy way of growing them on and getting them to fruit sooner in a sort of dwarf size, so they're not massive trees by the time they fruit, and it happens sooner. The the M9 trees will only be planted 35 centimeters apart, which is effectively a foot. So again, saving space as well. So at this stage, if you are doing this, you may be at this stage, you may be slightly behind. As you're not really behind, you're just going to do it at the natural cycle. The other reason for not growing these in a glass house is the problem of, we've already covered disease, I'm covering pests now. And it's too early for things like aphids. That will come slightly later because there will be aphids in the spring. Right now, the problem are hungry rodents. So we've got mice, we've got voles, we've got shrews. They're all very, very hungry. They come into the barn, they come into the glass house, and apple seeds, apple seedlings are very tasty to them. In here, we don't have any touch wood, as they say. We don't have any rodent problems. So these are hopefully going to be large enough. So I'd suspect in 2 weeks' time, I will be potting a lot of these on where there's sort of 3 or 4 to a pot. I will pot those on and I will actually put those into the glass house because there's not enough room in here. I'm not going to buy another light. Hopefully there will be, the temperatures should be nice enough in the glass house. We're not going to lose too many to fungus, but hopefully at that stage I'll have to make some sort of makeshift high table thing, but hopefully the rodents do not eat them. And after that, it's just a matter of watering them, monitoring them, growing them. I might put canes in to grow them up. And yeah, at this stage I think everything's looking quite good. I'm looking forward to this. So who knows, in 5-6 years time I'll make a sort of video about these where I'm tasting these, and I suspect some of these, especially things like these Riker seedlings, maybe some of the Riker seedlings. So this is Hamid's Red Pippin, this is one of my seedlings, so this is a sort of second generation, this is sort of the grandchild of a Riker. It's a Riker discovery, so yeah, okay, fine, it's a but we don't know what it's been crossed with. I can then do a sort of DNA analysis, not personally, but I can get these analysed to find out what the pollen parent was. this summer, this spring, I will actually do some hand pollinating as well, just out of curiosity to see how that is. But yeah, everything's looking good. These are Honeycrisp. These are Norfolk Royal Russet. More Hamid's Red Pippins here. So this is seedling 82's ones. So that's probably my favourite seedling. So these are seedlings of the seedlings. Over here, that's Wixen crab. So this is a shout out to Stephen Edholm. I'm attempting some of the Wixen crabs. It's an interesting variety, so curious to see what I'll get. Actually, some of these are Stephen's ones. This lot here, he sent to me from the States. Now, seeds are not very good vectors for any pathogens or pests or disease, so or viruses really. So it's relatively safe to grow seedlings from seeds you receive. There's always a chance there will be some sort of pest. That's Rubens. That's Golden Hills there. Yeah, there is always a slight chance, but as long as things look healthy, that's fine. But then you can't get fire blight and all these weird things from them. I think it's you shouldn't really buy cyanwood from overseas, but seeds are fine. Anyway, all going well here, and I will make more videos about these once I've potted them on. Thank you very much for watching. Hope this has been useful. Oh, sorry, there's more here. There's Rocklow. Oh yeah, and William Crump. William Crump's a very nice late season Cox variety. Anyway, I'm done now. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.